Singapore, the imperative of soft infrastructure. Singapore, the great flood fortress. Beyond soft power, the imperative of soft infrastructure. Singapore does not view being a tiny, resource-poor island as a curse. Rather, it is a challenge to be solved through God-tier engineering. The roots of this success didn't spring from mere capital, but from a visceral fear. If we have no water and the island sinks, we all perish. This mindset transformed an island with an average elevation of just 15 meters above sea level and where nearly 30% of its land sits less than 5 meters above the tides into an unsinkable fortress. Data from the Tropical Marine Science Institute of Singapore confirms that if global sea levels rise by 1 meter, as predicted by the IPCC, the island's key economic zones will become danger zones immediately without elite defense systems. Transcending limits, when industrial estates are no longer the answer. With a total land area of only 734 square kilometers and water resources that must be calculated down to the last drop, Singapore knew that building heavy industrial estates, requiring massive land and polluting water sources, would be socio-economic suicide. They shifted their philosophy from being the factory of the world to the brain of the world, focusing on high-value manufacturing and a knowledge-based economy. Today, Singapore commands 11% of the global semiconductor market and thrives in biomedical sciences, industries that prioritize intellectual property over raw material volume. Choosing high-yield, low-footprint industries is the strategy that broke Singapore free from the land trap. Advanced services, clean energy, and the financial nexus. Beyond high-tech factories, Singapore evolved into a global services hub, particularly in fintech and as a premier global oil and gas trading center, despite not having a single drop of oil of its own. By leveraging its strategic location at the crossroads of global shipping lanes, Singapore chose to build industries that don't rely on their own natural resources, but instead process the world's resources flowing through the island. They add value through a robust legal system and unmatched global trust, making them nearly impossible for regional competitors to replicate. The electric heart of the fortress. Where does the power come from? Many wonder how these massive pumps and treatment plants find the power to run, given the island lacks hydroelectric dams or nuclear plants. The secret lies in natural gas. Singapore imports gas via pipelines from neighbors and as LNG from around the globe. Currently, 95% of Singapore's electricity is generated from natural gas through high-efficiency combined cycle gas turbines, CCGT. Furthermore, they utilize floating solar farms on reservoirs and coastal waters to harvest energy during the day to power water treatment systems. It proves that even without basic resources, efficient import and management systems mean energy is never a dead end. Evolution from a thirsty island to a water superpower. Singapore proved to the world that fresh water doesn't only come from the sky. With a daily demand of 430 million gallons set to double by 2060, Singapore built the Four National Taps system to lock down security. While local catchment across two-thirds of the island is the foundation, the key is reducing dependence on Malaysian water before the current agreement ends in 2061. Singapore has rapidly built 5 desalination plants, now meeting 25% of the island's needs, proving they are ready to cut ties with external variables for total survival. Any water, recycling wastewater into world-class drinking water. The world stands in awe of any water, the process of turning used water into ultra-pure liquid. This isn't just basic treatment. It uses advanced membrane technology and triple UV disinfection, resulting in water that exceeds the purity standards of most tap and bottled waters. Any water currently meets 40% of the island's demand, with a target of 55%. This water fuels high-tech industries requiring extreme purity and is pumped back into reservoirs, creating a perfect circular economy model. Marina Barrage, the giant wall that defies nature. The heart of the island's defense isn't a simple dirt levee, but the Marina Barrage, a dam spanning the bay that turned 1/6 of the island's area into a freshwater reservoir. Its brilliance lies in pressure management. When the tide is high and heavy rain threatens the island, 9 giant steel crest gates close to shut out the ocean. Simultaneously, 7 massive pumps, each capable of draining an Olympic-sized pool in less than a minute, blast floodwater into the sea against the tide. This colossal power is backed by redundant electrical systems, ensuring the fortress never stops breathing. Stamford Detention Tank, the underground arsenal beneath prosperity. To handle 1-inch to 100-year rainfall events, Singapore hid in the Stamford Detention Tank beneath the bustling Orchard Road district. This subterranean vault, with a capacity of 15 Olympic pools, 38,000 cubic meters, siphons excess water from main drains to alleviate the 8,000 kilometers drainage network. Once the storm passes, it pumps the water back into the system. This $227 million SGD investment is exactly why economic damage from flooding in Singapore's business heart remains zero. Empoldering at Pulau Tekong, cheating nature to create land below the sea. To understand Singapore's ambition, look at Pulau Tekong. Usually, to expand, Singapore must pour massive amounts of expensive, politically charged sand into the sea. Now, they've adopted the Dutch empoldering technique. They built a 10 kilometers dike, seawall, around 810 hectares of open sea, and pumped the water out, creating land that sits 1.2 meters below sea level. This saves 40% on sand and serves as the ultimate model. No matter how high global sea levels rise, Singapore will simply wall off the main island and use pumps to keep the heart of the nation dry. Soft infrastructure, a lesson for the world. Singapore's actions show that the solution isn't waiting for a bailout, it's investing in engineering insurance. With over $5 billion SGD invested in flood infrastructure over the last decade, Singapore turned a sinking crisis into a high-value intellectual industry that doesn't rely on traditional land or water resources. The invisible wall. Why competitors struggle to steal the hub. While neighbors share a similar location, they can't easily replicate the soft infrastructure, the intellectual and legal bedrock Singapore has built. Their greatest strength is transparency and international justice, giving global investors the confidence that their assets and contracts are protected. Combined with a single-window transaction system that eliminates corruption, the hidden costs of business are near zero. Singapore doesn't just sell a port, it sells trust, a resource that takes decades to accumulate. Others may have big ports, but as long as bureaucracy remains complex or policies shift with political winds, the world will still choose to dock in Singapore. The mystery of success that resources cannot buy. Many think Singapore's small size makes it easy to control or mimic. But the real question is, why, over decades, has almost no one succeeded in replicating them? Neighbors have endless resources, vast land, and massive manpower, yet Singapore, starting from zero, leapt leagues ahead. The true lesson isn't about giant pumps, it's the realization that Singapore didn't wake up talented. Their excellence was forged in a survival instinct that turned fear into innovation. While resource-rich nations may sleep in complacency, Singapore proves that in the modern world, intelligence and management discipline are far more powerful resources than gold or oil.